See, I was just in a hurry to jump out of my seat, and I messed it up again. Howdy.
It's all good.
Welcome. We have so much to go through today. So very much. So
anybody in the chat wants to say hi, please do.
Indeed. So far, we have a couple people out there. We have a lot to cover, so let's jump in. We're covering Binyan Piel and the Hebrew numerals. So, by the way, what's the difference between a number and a numeral?
A number is the thing, a numeral is the grapheme. That's a guess.
Yes, a number is the idea, the concept way out there, and a numeral is is what you write for or FOUR. Just hello, Michael. What's up? Remember this: Beautiful passage. We got a couple people down in our patreon.com list, but I do appreciate you guys. And please, if anybody wants to sign up, do it because it's a good cause. We are still covering the Binyanim because that's the whole course of basic Hebrew. I know that it gets monotonous and boring going through Binyanim, but this is really the remainder of what we have to cover to finish basic Hebrew before we can get into higher level learning. So today we're going over Binyan Piel. If you look at this menorah, the candelabrum, the active stems are on the left and the passive stems are on the right, and the hitpael reflexive in the middle. So right now we have covered the kal, and we covered Piel in the past, and we covered hifil in the past. By past, I mean the perfect, which isn't necessarily the past. It could also be a conditional. It could also be used in the future as v'katal. So we are going to cover now the entire verb paradigm of the Piel. And then in the next chapter, we're going to cover the hifil, and then we're going to start passives. So that's our direction. What do we need to learn about the Piel? So we've already covered all of the kal. And today we're going to be covering basically the whole paradigm of the Piel, because whatever goes on in the minds of these grammar writers, they imagine that if you cover the kal, then all the rest of it, if you cover each piece of the kal, then all the rest of it, you can do it all in one presentation and everybody's going to understand it instead of actually practicing it and using it and perfecting it.
And they're wrong.
They are wrong, but that's how they arrange their grammar books.
I know, but
yeah. So the perfect in the Piel is of the structure C per, PL, D ber, IE with a doubling dagesh in the middle. That's the structure. If we look back at the one with the menorah, we've got E under this first radical. The second radical is doubled with dagesh with e. Okay, so that's the structure that we're looking at. Si per. Strangely enough, only the perfect uses that E vowel in the first syllable. Only the perfect. Outside of the perfect, outside of the past tense, the vowel under the first syllable is a. The first radical, it's a. So the participle is misaper, not misiper, misaper. The a is actually the marking vowel of the Piel, which is funny that we name it Piel because of past tense. In Aramaic, it's Pa'el, and that would just make sense, but Hebrew isn't very sensible.
Well, outside of the third person.
Nope.
Hold on.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So
even still, the idea of the I just think it's funny because PL only holds in the third person masculine singular, as a whole vowel thing. Yeah.
So in the imperative, it's saper. In the future, he's saper. Misaper, yisaper, saper. It's the internal vowel. For some reason, is patach, a, in all of the paradigm, except in the perfect, in which it's e. Yeah, that's messed up. So this is again.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's common to see that E to ah change happen in a lot of words, actually, when you think of it, especially if they're closed syllables, or when I say E, I mean sorry,
Chirik,
Eric to the alpha
the
and
patach.
back. Yeah. Gosh, the patach. Sorry, wrong language. um,
Mhm.
that interchange happens a lot, like historically in other Northwest Semitic languages. And there's a name for it. I just don't remember it right now. But yeah.
So let's remember that the perfect is special because it has the E, or if it can't take negation in the middle radical, then it's A, generally. Okay, so here we go. This is my paradigm table that I came up with and created and perfected. So again, the perfect is going to be this side here of the table, the imperfect this side here, the present tense or participle here, and the imperative here, and then whatever notes I want to make, I'll put in a column at the bottom. Okay, that's the way that I make my tables. So the first one we're going to look at is the perfect. We call it siper, or, well, actually the first one we looked at altogether is the infinitive. This is the infinitive construct. The infinitive construct likes to be paired with something else. So le saper is to tell or to recount. Le saper. Le saper. Okay, so the perfect is siper. Okay, when you add the endings, it's siparti. The e becomes a. Siparti. Siparta. Sipart. Sipra. Siparno. Sipartem. Siparten. Sipru. Okay, we're going to look at several other verbs and see how they all compare with one another. This is the standard paradigm for the perfect and the Piel. Okay, the imperfect, that is the future. A saper. You've got the same prefixes. A, te with e, y, te, n, te with u, te with na, ye with u. They're the same endings as in the kal. The only difference is in the kal you had a closed syllable at the beginning. Es gor, I will close. But here you have the structure of the word is maintained, saper, and then the one on the front is reduced in all cases. So all of these have shva. Okay, so that makes it easy to remember in the future. So saper, you say as saper, I will, ani as saper, I will tell, I will recount. Tesaper, tesapri, yesaper, tesaper. Okay, nisaper, we will tell. Tesapru, you plural will tell. Tesaperna, and finally yesapru. My pen is not writing now. Okay, there it goes. Yesapru. All right. How do we feel so far? That makes sense. It's pretty good because when you come at it from knowing the kal, the Piel is pretty easy. Yeah. Si parti, si parta, si part. Colton, you're good with that? Wonderful.
Yeah. We're
Participle. Yeah, participle is just like saper, yisaper, saper, but with a mem prefix because participles outside of the kal and nifal take mem prefixes. Remember that as a rule. Participles outside of kal and nifal take mem prefix in all forms. So mesaper, mesaperet, mesaprim, mesaprot. Okay, mesaper. If we say this for speaking, ani medaber, I speak. Ata medaber, at medaberet. If I were a woman, I would say ani medaberet. Atem medabrim. Aten medaberot. Okay. Same thing with the imperative. Saper, sapri, sapru, saperna. Saperna. It's just like saper, saperna without the t. Saperna. Okay, and the notes that I've included are just like you have yisaper, you want to say va yisaper for the verb consecutive. And he told. The feminine vat tisaper with dagesh in the tav. This is siparti, and this is an infinitive absolute. Saper siparti. I have certainly told. Saper siparti. Notice how common these forms look. Saper, saper, sapru, like they all look the same. Sapru looks like sapru. Sapri looks like sapri. They're very common in the Piel. The cohortative asapra, like nisapra, nidabra. Okay. The imperative saper has the long form imperative sapra, which is also masculine, like emor, omra. Like there's a long form imperative in the same way that there's in the kal. Whew, that is the whole paradigm of the verb lisaper, to tell. And most people who are studying biblical Hebrew, instead of saying the verb lisaper, they're going to say the verb siper. Or they might be even crazier and say the root safar in the Piel, like without even telling you what the form is, because for some reason people think that's intelligent. It's not. Lesaper, to tell. Great. Now we have the word levarech. Levarech. This is to bless. Levarech. Okay. The past tense, there are many forms in the Hebrew Bible that instead of saying in the second syllable, like siper, we'll say like berach. Berach, he blessed. Shilam, he repaid. Shilach, he sent away. We're going to run into a lot of forms where they have, instead of the e vowel in the second syllable, they have a vowel. Okay, so berach, he blessed, which is natural to the form anyway, because you notice in all the other forms, even in the previous verb, all of the forms except for this one, all of them have in the second syllable siparta, sipart. Sipartem. The only case that's different is whenever it's reduced, but it would still have been sipara and siparu that reduced to sipu and sipra. So it's still that this form is the outlier. So berach becomes berachti, I blessed, berachti. Berachta, you blessed. Colton, do you want to just go over this paradigm so I don't seem like I'm just talking to myself?
Yeah, you're fine. Where were you? I'm sorry. You
Go
start
from
with the
berach
perfect,
and then this way.
Okay, and zigzag my way down. Sure.
Yeah.
And you said start with, okay, so berachti, berachta, beracht, berach, beracha, berachnu, berachtem, berachtem, sorry, berachten, berachu.
Okay, in the participle, the present tense.
Yeah, participle mevarech, mevarechet, mevarchim, mevarchot.
I marked the kamatz with dagesh to say, or with meteg to say that it's and not a closed syllable with o. Okay. Future.
Oh, yeah, that's good. And then avarek, tevarek, tevarchi, sorry, yevarek, tevarhek, nevarek, tevarachu, tevarekna, yevarachu, and tevarekna.
Okay, in the imperative, bless
Barek,
him,
yep.
barech oto.
And then barchi.
Yes, so there's a verse in the Bible that says, Barchi nafshi et Adonai. Bless the Lord, O my soul.
Barchu.
Barchu.
And then
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Bless the Lord who is blessed. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Okay.
and then Barechna.
Barechna. Okay, so Yivarech is what we said as the future third person masculine singular. So Yivarech. Okay, the verb consecutive is Vayivarech. Vayivarech. Vayivarech, and he blessed. Notice that the stress is moved in this one, Vayivarech. Okay, the infinitive, we would expect the infinitive absolute to be Barech, like we had Saper, but sometimes instead of A, the infinitive absolute appears with O. So it looks like it's Kal, Baruch. Baruch berachti. I have surely blessed. Baruch berachti. Avarecha, cohortative, let me bless. Avarecha, also it would be with the plural nevarecha, may we bless, let us bless. Barech, the imperative, can also be barcha, as in long form imperative, because we have long form imperative and short form imperative. All right, that's a big paradigm. We're just going to push through because we have a lot to get through in this lesson. The word legalot. Legalot is distinct from the kal. Remember, we had the kal liglot, which also means to discover, uncover, or reveal. Liglot. And now we have legalot with the difference is that first syllable it's a closed syllable. Legalot. But in the kal, it's liglot. Liglot and legalot. That's the difference. So in the kal, this was galiti. Now we have giliti. Giliti is how I say I found out. I uncovered. I discovered. I found out. Giliti. Giliti shehu zaken. I found out that he's old. Giliti shehem lo garim ba'aretz. I found out that they don't live in Israel. Giliti. Giliti is I found out or I uncovered. Gilita, you uncovered. Gilit, gila, gilta. Okay, if you want to hear the kal forms, we've got galiti, galita, galit, gala, galta. This is the difference in kal and this is piel. Giliti, gilita, gilit, gila, gilta. This is third hey, which is really like third, it's lamed hey, which is really like lamed yod. Remember the real root is lamed yod. Gilinu, gilitem, giliten, gilu. Gilu, they found out, they uncovered. Megale, megale, megala, megalim, megalot. Okay, the future. Agale. Agale lecha et asod. I will reveal the secret to you. Agale lecha et hasod. I will reveal the secret to you. Tegale. Tegali. Yegale. Tegale. Remember, these are always the same form. Negale. Tegalu. Tegalena. Yigalu. Tegalena. The only note that I put at the bottom is the verb consecutive yigale. Remember the third hey or the third yod root drops the hey. It's apocryphated. So instead of yigale, it's yigal as the jussive, and the verb consecutive is formed from the jussive. So you got vayigal. Vayigal is piel, meaning and he uncovered or discovered or found out. Okay, now we have the same root, lishloach, to send, is lishaleach, to send away, to send off, to let them go. Okay, this is let my people go, where Moses went to talk to Pharaoh, and he says, shalach et ami, shalach et ami, let my people go, send my people off into the desert, that they might worship the Lord there for 3 days.
Sorry.
Shalach et ami. Yes, exactly. Colton, you want to go through this one? First, let's remark that just like we had Beirach. Now we have shilach, not shileach.
Mm,
You will find shileach, but that's when it's in pause.
yeah.
Okay?
Shilachti,
Mhm.
shilachta, shilacht, shilach, shilcha.
Okay, so let's hear the kal of the same root. Remember, kal is the less intensive send, and
Mm-hmm.
piel is the more intensive send away.
Yeah.
So the kal would be
Shalachti.
shalachti bimkom shilachti,
Mhm. Shalachta,
shalachta bimkom shilachta,
shalacht,
shilacht was shalacht,
shalach,
shilach, shalach,
shalcha.
okay, shilcha, shalcha, shalcha, wonderful. Okay.
Shilachnu,
Mm-hmm.
shilachtem,
Mm-hmm.
shilachten, shilchu.
Okay, in the kal, shalachnu, shlachtem, shlachten, shalchu. So that first syllable is important in the past tense for e in the piel. Shilachta bimkom shalachta. Okay, the kal participle is going to be sholeach, and the piel is
I'm sorry. Mishaleach.
mishaleach, feminine,
Mishalachat.
mishalachat instead of sholachat in the kal.
Mm-hmm. Mishalchim.
Mishalchim instead of sholchim.
Mishalchot.
Mishalchot instead of sholchot. So what this should tell us if we're looking at it just visually and there are no points, the past tense is identical in consonant between the kal and the piel. The future, the imperfect, is the same, identical as the kal in the consonants. The imperative is identical to the kal in the consonants, but the participle is different because of the mem prefix. That's kind of problematic if you're reading an unpointed text.
Yeah.
What will be the difference between Vayishbor, he broke, and Vaishaber, he broke in pieces? Like there's no consonantal difference. They would be written the same.
Right.
And you have to know the grammar and you have to know what's going on with the language in order to distinguish between them. And some people try to jump into reading with no points before they're ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the future.
Ashalach.
Ashalach or Ashaleach.
Mm-hmm.
The future can
Teshalach.
have the Each instead of Ach.
Yeah. Teshalach.
Or Tishaleach.
Mm-hmm. Teshalchi. Teshalachi. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeshalach or Yeshaleach.
Mm-hmm.
And then Teshalach or Teshaleach. The Neshalach, Neshaleach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Teshalchu. Teshalachna. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeshalchu and Teshalachna.
Mm-hmm. If we would just want to hear the call really quick, this would be Eshlach, Tishlach, Tishlechi, Yishlach, Tishlach, Nishlach, Tishlechu, Tishlachna, Yishlechu, Tishlachna. So it looks the same as far as the consonants are concerned. Okay, so the imperative is Shalach, Shalachi, Shalchu, Shalachna. Remember that the imperative here is formed by taking this form and breaking off the prefix, and this form itself is formed from this one, to shalach, to shalachna. Okay, yay. Yeshalach, he will send away, vayishalach, and he sent away, as vayikol. Shilachti, the infinitive absolute in this one is shaleach. Shaleach shilachti. I have certainly sent away. Shalach as an imperative can be written in the long form, shalcha. Okay, this is the synopsis of verbs in the Piel. This is on a page in your book. a page. Maybe you know what page. I don't know, but it's in there. Basically, it's exactly what we looked at. Bikesh is he requested or sought. Me'en, he refused. Mihar, he hurried. Notice that some of these have a in that syllable. In modern Hebrew, we standardize them basically, and we say miher. Miher, mihar, doesn't matter. We also do the same thing with what we already talked about, berach. Berach is he blessed, but in modern Hebrew we say berech. Berech, because we've standardized it. Shilach.
267 is the page number.
Page 267. If you want to look at the synopsis in the book, definitely something you should go over. Shilach, he sent away. Mileh, he filled. Gilah, he revealed or uncovered. And Yisav, he chastised, he punished. So the future imperfect is Yivakesh, Yima'en, Yimaher, Yishalach, Yimale, Yigale, Yeyaser. Yeyaser. Okay? The adjective is going to be the same in all forms except for Yigale is apocryphated because the hay drops off and it's Yigal. Okay, that happens all the time when you have a third hay. The imperative is just the same, but you take off the prefix in the imperfect. So Yivakesh becomes Bakesh. Yima'en, Ma'en. Yimaher, Maher. Yishalach, Shalach. Yimale, Male. Yigale can be either Gale or the apocryphated Gal. So it can be reveal it. Gal, it's a reveal. Gal et asod. Or it could be Gale et asod. It could be either way. Yaser becomes Yaser. Chastise him. This is commanding, giving an order. Infinitive absolute in the Piel is a little bit complicated because it really changes based on what word you're looking at. The standard form is exactly like the imperative. Bakesh, bakesh, ma'en, ma'en, maher, maher, shalach, shaleach. The infinitive absolute will have the full vowel before the guttural. But sometimes it does something weird and it takes an O instead of an A that we would expect. So malo is like male, and galo or gale. It's either one. And yasor. So in all of these cases, it takes O. Just when you see the infinitive absolute, remember that normally it accompanies a finite verb. So you'll see it doubled, and it will be easy to recognize. The infinitive construct, this is normally how we name the verb by putting a lamed in front of it. We say levakesh, lema'en, lemaher, leshaleach or leshalach, lemale, legalot, leyaser. This is the name of the verb, to do it. And then the participle has a mem prefix, mevakesh, mema'en, memaher, meshaleach, memale, megale, and meyaser. So that is the synopsis of the verb, and we need to get into numerals because we are at half past. That means we spent half of the hour on the Piel, which is not bad, and we get half an hour to spend on counting in Hebrew, how to count. Colton, you have trouble with counting, don't you?
Not in English.
In Hebrew.
It's not my favorite thing.
So look at that first sentence I wrote on there. Even students who spend years studying Hebrew have trouble with Hebrew numerals. There's really no way around it. You don't get comfortable with numerals in Hebrew until you move to Israel. If you come to Israel and then you have to give your telephone and your ID number and your address and your zip code, and you have to give it all in numbers, then you get comfortable with numbers. And if you go to the grocery store and they want 50 shekels and you give them 15 shekels, it's a problem. So you get used to numbers. So numerals appear in masculine and feminine forms. I hate those terms, as well as in construct and absolute. They also may be cardinal, 1, 2, 3, or ordinal, first, second, third. I don't like the terms masculine and feminine when it comes to numbers because every grammar book that you look at arranges them differently, and they're all stupid. Grammar books, especially the one from Zondervan by Van Pelt and what's his name? Pratico.
Mm-hmm.
That is the worst. That's the absolute worst when it comes to the treatment of numbers. Have you looked at it? It's terrible.
I have the Aramaic one, and it was equally bad, I think.
Yeah. So let me change the terminology and we will stop saying masculine numbers and feminine numbers. Instead, we will say short form numbers and long form numbers. And that makes so much better sense. So when you count just using numbers, you do so in the short forms, that is, those that accompany feminine nouns. Okay, nouns are feminine and numbers will accompany nouns that are masculine or feminine, but the noun forms and the number forms themselves are not masculine and feminine. And we'll see why. Okay, when you're counting, I say count to 10. You say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's how you count. If you tell somebody, תספור עד 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we said that numbers can be construct or absolute. These are absolute. That is, they're not joined to anything. If they are joined to something, because you can say one of the women, okay, one of the women, or you can say one woman. Two of the women, or both of the women is the same form. Three of the women, four of the women, it's partitive. When you do that, it's construct. And these are the construct forms. Achat is the same as achat. Instead of shtayim, we say shte. It's two of. The word shte, two of, can mean shte hanashim, both of the women, the two of the women. Or it can mean shtayim me hanashim, two from the women. Could be one of those, the same meaning. Shalosh becomes shlosh because the first syllable is generally reduced if possible. Arba, arba. Chamesh, chamesh. The syllable is reduced even though you don't hear it. Shesh, shesh, it's one syllable. Sheva, shva. Shmone, shmone. Notice the difference that the tzere is long. Okay, that's a historic long vowel. It's in the final syllable in the construct. Tesha becomes cha. Cha. T-S-H-A-I-N. Cha. Cha. Not tesha, but cha. And eser stays as eser. So let's look at, we're not going to really deal with the construct forms except when we get into the teens. So we'll look at it in a second. So these are the numbers again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the construct forms that we'll go over with the teens. Let's look at the long forms. I say these are short because it's just the root of the word. It's the root. 5, 4, 3, okay? When you get to the long forms, then you've added an ah sound, the ah vowel. They're long because they add ah. They are not feminine because they add ah. We want long. Why do we want long? This happens in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Arabic. It's the standard thing in Semitic language. Basically, when you think about it, the noun, if you think of yeled, yeled is a boy, right? To make it feminine, you make it long. Yalda. Right? Yalda is a longer form than yeled. So if you want to say, if you want to make the plural, you say yeladot. And so we think of feminine nouns as being longer because you have to add something to make them feminine forms. So you're kind of compromising. You're bringing the length of the phrase down by adding a shorter form of the number. So if you've got yeladot, it's a long form. You say arba, arba yeladot. Okay, but the masculine is normally, as it stands, a shorter word, yeled. And so it felt better in the language, I think, that even when you make it plural, yeladim, when you add the number, you're going to give it the longer form, arba, ah. Arba'a. Arba'a yeladim. So you use a longer form with masculine nouns because masculine nouns are normally shorter, and a shorter form with feminine nouns because feminine nouns are normally longer. And it gives a kind of balance to the language. Okay, it's a bad idea to think of this as a feminine marker because these are all plural. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are all plural. If they were feminine, marked as feminine, it would be shloshot, arbaot, chamishot, because the feminine plural is ot. The feminine plural is not a. So it's a bad idea to think of these as feminine. It's better to think of them as long. Like you think of yiktol, and then you think of yiktela as a long form yiktol. Or as tol means to kill him, right? Tol. But you could say in the long form, kotla. So Hebrew has short forms and long forms. Let's just think of the numbers. The long form goes with masculine, and the short form goes with feminine. And it's just a better way to think about it. I want to revolutionize Hebrew grammars in this aspect. The construct, the long form, isn't that beautiful? Those segulit forms. So we've got ahad. Notice ahad is the form that we really want. Ahat, ahad. They're the same vocalization. But what happened was whenever ahad is by itself, the final syllable becomes long, and you can't have ah before the cha. You can't have that. So it's echad. So achad is the normal form of the word. Shnei, just like shtaim becomes shtei in the feminine, shnaim becomes shnei with masculine nouns. Shnei. Shlosha becomes shloshet. So shloshet hayamim, the 3 days. It's like the number becomes a unit. 3 of the days. Shloshet hayamim, the 3 days. Arba'at hayamim, the 4 days. Hameshet hayamim, sheshet yamim ta'avod, in the 10 Commandments. For 6 days shall you work and do all your labor. Sheshet yamim ta'avod. Shiv'at yamei chag hamatzot. Shmonat haleilot leChanukah, the 8 nights of Chanukah. Tishat, like Tisha, and Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 Commandments. So the numbers in their standard form: Echad, Shnaim, Shlosha, Arba'a, Chamisha, Shisha, Shiv'a, Shmona, Tisha, Asara. Those go with masculine nouns. They are long form because masculine nouns are normally shorter. All right. Where does this play in? Let's pair it a little bit. So yeled means, Colton, I'm going to have you go back and forth with me because I don't have anybody else.
Okay.
So yeled,
Boy,
and yalda,
girl.
Plural is yeladim and yeladot. Okay, so when we count one of them, we're going to say yeled echad. For some reason, the number 1 normally follows.
Yep.
Okay, so if we say yeled echad, how do we say one girl?
Yalda achat.
Yalda achat. Now, this is something weird about Hebrew, is that we have also achad or echad that goes into plural. Yeladim achadim. Achadim means a few or some.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And yeladot achadot. So this is perfectly logical if you speak Spanish. In Spanish, you say un libro, a book, and unos libros, some books. Un libro, unos libros. How do you make uno become plural? Why would one become plural? It means some. So there's an example that's very clear from Genesis 11:1. It says, "Vayhi chol haaretz safa echat." Notice achat, the feminine, in pause takes that long vowel, and you can't have in front of it, so it says echat, even for feminine. Okay, safa echat, one language. The whole world, the whole earth was one language. Udvarim achadim, and one things or some things, meaning that they had everything in common. The whole earth had the same language and the same things, or the same words, meaning that they didn't have other languages. They all spoke the same language. Okay, number two. Now we're going to say two boys and two girls. So Yeled is a boy and Yelda is a girl. How do you say plural?
Yeladim.
Yeladim and
Yaldot.
Yeladot. Remember the segulant nouns have a secondary pattern in the plural.
Yep.
Yeled, Yeladim, Yelda, Yeladot. Okay, so we said that the long form goes with masculine, but in Echad and Shnaim, they're really the same length. So Yeled, to say two boys, we say
Shnei
Yeladim.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
An alternative that does exist is just to say Shneim Yeladim. That exists, but it's rare. Shnei Yeladim, two boys. Shnei Yeladim. To say both of the boys, you say Shnei Ha Yeladim. Two of the two of the boys. Shnei Ha Yeladim, Shnei Yeladim. Okay? Shtei Yeladot. Shtei Yeladot. This is an awkward expression because that dagesh is in the tav. Shtei. Normally, you cannot have a shva in the middle of a closed syllable. What's going on there? Why is that dagesh in the top? Do you have any idea? Like, have you thought about that?
No. Is it?
Oh,
is it?
We do have.
Yeah,
we
no.
do have some people here.
I don't know.
Hold on, we do have some people here. Sorry. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. So Michael is here again. Hi, Michael. Nancy is here again. Hi, Nancy. My mom is here again. Hi, Mama. And she says hi to Colton as well. And then you replied to her, and she said she got into the first one late, so she didn't say anything. And Trump has just announced that Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire. That will be amazing because I'm tired of having rockets come down over my head. So this is good. And that's really it as far as comments go. Why is there a dagesh in the tav in the word shtei? In the past, tav had two sounds, right? With dagesh, it was a T. And without dagesh, it could be, if you were Yemenite, something like a th, th. And if you're Ashkenazi Jew, it was a sa. So if there were no dagesh in that tav, then we would have shetha, if it's Yemenite, shetha, shethay yeladim, or with an Ashkenazi pronunciation, shesay yeladim, shesay. In order to make it shtei, to make sure that tav is a T sound, they inserted the tav into it, the dagesh into it, even though it violates the rules. This violates normal Masoretic pointing rules. But they put it in there because they did not want it to represent shethay. It has to be shtei. And so they put the dagesh in there. That's why it's there. There are other instances of weird dagesh put into words, like banot, the plural of house. The word house is bait, and the plural is batim. Okay. Normally, if you want a long here, you cannot have a dagesh here because the kamatz is long in an open, unclosed syllable. But they wanted the tav to be for certain a T sound. They wanted for certain to be a T sound, so they had to put dagesh in it so it did not become bathim or basim, and this is an exception to the rule. So there are some exceptions that we see everywhere. Like there are a few exceptions that appear everywhere in the language. Okay, number 3 we said is shalosh. So if it's yeled, we get yeladim. For yelda, we get yeladot. The long form is shlosha. Shlosha yeladim. And the short form is shalosh. We get shalosh yeladot. Shlosha yeladim, shalosh yeladot. This long and short form is going to come into play when we get into the teens to really drill in this idea that they were trying to balance out the length of the words. So I'll show you that in just a second. Yeled, 4 is arba, arba'a. Arba'a yeladim, arba yeladot. What is 5?
Chamsha yelid?
Chamisha, with a
Chamisha.
closed syllable, double shin.
Yeah, Chamisha yelid, and then Chamesh yelda.
Chamisha yeladim, vechamesh yeladot. Okay?
Yeah, sorry,
6.
I don't know why I'm not putting those in plural. My bad.
It's all right. Like a lot of people, like I said, they struggle with numbers. It's a natural part of it. It's not like counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like Spanish numbers are very easy and they don't change, but Hebrew are weird, especially joining the long form to the masculine noun, which you feel like shlosha is feminine because it ends in a.
Yeah.
So yeled, shesh and shisha.
Yeah. Shisha yeladim.
Shisha yeladim and
yeladot.
shesh yeladot. 7 is sheva.
Yeah.
Like Be'er Sheva is a well of the 7, or the oath.
Shiva yeladim.
Shiva Yeladim and Sheva Yeladot. Okay, 8 is Shmoneh and Shmona. The A again goes with the masculine.
Shmona yeladim and Shmoneh yelda.
Yeladot. Shmona Yeladim, Shmoneh Yeladot. If we were going with men and women, we'd say Shmona Anashim and Shmoneh Nashim. Yeled, Yeladot, Yeladim, Yeladot, we've got Tisha. Tisha Yeladim, ותשע ילדות. 10, 10. 10 ילדים, 10 ילדות. Okay? That might be the most coverage that people make with biblical Hebrew numbers because people don't pay attention to them. They don't give them attention.
Yeah.
But we're going to cover all of the numbers that are in the book. So the feminine, that is not feminine, the short form that goes with feminine nouns is 11 for 11, 11, and masculine 11. Okay? So if we said that the long form goes with masculine and the short form goes with feminine, now it's flipped again. So because the 10 becomes asar in the masculine, but esre in the feminine. I mean with feminine nouns, with masculine nouns, with feminine nouns. So the short form goes with the longer form of the number 10. And then the long form, like Tisha, goes with the short form of the number 10. This is fun. So 12 is 12. 12. If you're counting, you're going to say 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, ו-20. But if you're doing masculine nouns, you're going to say 12. 12 ילדים, 13 ילדות, and 13 ילדים, 14 ילדות. I'm doing the feminine nouns on this side, ילדות, ילדות. And the masculine nouns on this side, ילדים. Okay? So 14 ילדות and 14 ילדים, 14. So this is the long and this is short. This is short and this is long. So feminine nouns, the noun is long. Okay? The 1 through 10 is short. And the number 10 that goes with teens is long. So you've got long, short, long. The masculine, you have shorter nouns generally. Then you have the long form of 1 through 10, the single digits. And then you have the short form of the word for 10. So they're pairing these things together intentionally. Can you see that that's on purpose to try to balance out the length? If they were going like feminine is longer nouns generally, and then suddenly they're going to give the long form of the digits and the long form of the tens, then you get these long expressions with feminine noun phrases. And then you would get shorter expressions where the noun is short and then the digit is short and the 10 is short, where you get shorter expressions for nouns for masculine. And that would just make the language very burdensome, trying to make all of these really long expressions for feminines. And feminine verbs are already problematic because you have to add the na, tedaber na. Why do you have that na on there? You're already making the verbs too long for feminine. So this is a way of balancing it out. And to call the numbers masculine and feminine is problematic. It needs to be thought of in terms of long and short. I really do believe that. So, 15 is 15. 15 ילדות, 15 girls. 15 ילדים, 15 boys. 16 ילדות, 16 ילדות, 16 ילדים. 17. Notice that that's shva. 17 ילדות and 17 ילדים. 18 ילדות and 18 ילדים. 19 ילדות and 19 ילדים. In modern Hebrew, people are not focused enough to make this distinction. They should be. Good speakers of modern Hebrew will consistently make this distinction. People who work in the marketplace and are trying to sell bagels and clothing will never use the masculine form of numbers, like the long form. They will never do it. They will only use these ones. So they say 17 shekel. 17 shekel. Shekalim are masculine, but they're going to say 17 shekel, 17 shekel, 16 shekel. It should be 17 shekalim, 17 shekalim. But most speakers in the street will not distinguish between them. They will only use what goes with the feminine nouns, because that's how you count. You say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it goes down this direction. So when you count with a feminine, what is called feminine numbers, then it's easier just to default to them, but you should not. And there is a mixture here because doing all of these where this is and that's instead of saying 18, most speakers of modern Hebrew will say 18, even though it's wrong. You're supposed to say 18 brachot, like the 18 blessings, the 18 benedictions, which is the heart of Jewish prayer, and most people will say 18, which is technically incorrect. Okay, how does that feel so far? We still have a lot more numbers to go.
Good so far.
Whew, yeah. Okay, there are also alternatives to the 11, which is 18 and 18. Just alternatives you might run into. Be aware that 18 is the same as 11, and 18 is the same as 11. It's only in the 11 that you find that. It's not that achat or echad becomes ashte. It doesn't. Only in the number 11. And shneasal instead of shnemasal also appears. Okay, when we get into the higher numbers, we will see even more issues with that. So eser is 10. To get to 20, you take 10 and you add a plural on it. You say eser becomes esrim. Esrim is 20. It's like tens. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To get to 30, you take the number 3, shalosh, and you add im, shloshim. Shloshim is 30. To get to 40, you take 4, arba, and you add im, arbaim. 50 is chamesh, chamishim. 60 is shesh, shishim.
Yay.
70 is sheva, shiv'im. 8 is shmoneh, or shmona, shmonim. 9 is tesha, tish'im. And then after that you get to 100. The problem is with numbers in the Bible that many times instead of saying what we would say in modern Hebrew, like hamishim ushnaim anashim, 52 people, they will say 50 people and 2 people. In the Bible, they will break numbers apart. Hamishim anashim v'shnei anashim, or shnei anashim v'chamishim ish. Like numbers are broken apart, normally with the tens and then units. And you just have to get used to weirdness of numbers. One thing in Daniel chapter 7, there's an expression that says that after the 62 weeks, city will be, or for 62 weeks, the city will be rebuilt, even in difficult times, and blah blah blah. And it says after the 62 weeks, it says the anointed one will be cut off and have nothing. But then it says 62 and 7 weeks. And nobody breaks digits up as 62 plus, not 62 plus 7, 63 plus 7, isn't it? 63 plus 7, 70. Okay. Anyway, nobody breaks numbers up this way. This is really not right.
Yeah.
Because what's really going on is it blah, 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 63 weeks? I don't know. And then it's the next sentence starts 7 weeks. So 60, whatever it is, and is it 70, 60? No, 62. I don't remember. I'm sorry. 42 and 7, 46. Yeah. 7 weeks. And there was one at the end. 62 and 7 and 1. Yeah, that's how it's broken up. These are actually 3 time periods. Don't say 62 plus 7 is 69. That's not what it means. Anyway, nobody breaks numbers that way. They break numbers up in Hebrew, but not that way. Me'ah is 100. Me'ah. It's also Me'ah Shanim, 100 years, which is a century. So Me'ah can also be a century, 100 years. So there is a building in Tel Aviv called the Migdal HaMe'ah. Okay, Migdal HaMe'ah does not mean the 100 tower. It's a tower of 100. It's the tower of the century. It's a century tower. I don't know why they call it that, but maybe because it was built in the year 2000. Who knows? Okay, to say 200, you have Me'ah, and then you have the dual ending. Like you've got Shavua is a week, and Shavu'aim is 2 weeks. So Matayim is 2 of Me'ot. Matayim, 200. Okay? You don't say Shtei Me'ot, you say Matayim. Shlosh Me'ot, 300. Arba Me'ot, 400. For some reason, you're going to use the construct form before Me'ot, 3 of hundreds. Hamesh Me'ot, Shesh Me'ot, Shva Me'ot, Shmone Me'ot, Cha Me'ot, not Tisha, not Tesha, Cha Me'ot, and then finally Elef. Elef is 1,000. If Me'ah is 100 and Matayim, the Aim ending, is 200, what do you think is 2,000? Wow, numbers are boring.
I'm sorry, 2000? Alfim?
Alpaim.
Alpaim. Okay, makes sense.
Matayim, Alpaim. So Alpaim Matayim is 2,200. Alpaim Matayim. Shloshet Alafim. What's the difference between Shlosh Me'ot and Shloshet Alafim?
Well, it's using the long form.
Right. Me'ot is feminine. So shlosh me'ot is the short form going with feminine. Alafim is masculine, so shloshet is the long form in construct going with a masculine noun. Okay, so arba'at alafim, chameshet alafim, sheshet alafim, 6,000, shivat alafim, 7,000, shmonat alafim, 8,000, tishat alafim, 9,000, and then what we would expect, as we say in modern Hebrew, aseret alafim, 10,000. Aseret alafim, we have special words for it in the Bible that are built on the idea of abundance, and it's revava. Revava is like a myriad, 10,000 revava. And
A
an
whole
alternative to revava in the plural is ribot.
Yeah, a whole bunch in
Yeah,
colloquial.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Ordinal numbers, first, second, third. Rishon is related to Rosh. And Rosh is the head, it's the top, it's the first. Rosh, Rishon. Rishon is first. Feminine, Rishona. That's very predictable.
Shani?
Shini,
Okay.
Shinit.
Mm.
Shini, Shinit.
Gets easy here.
From Shalosh. Shlishi, Shlishit. Revi'i, Revi'it. Chamishi, Chamishit. Shishi, Shishit. All of these numbers, except for Rishon, are in the first chapter of the book of Genesis. Because instead of Rishon, it says Yom Echad. And then after that, it says Yom Shini, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi'i, Yom Chamishi, Yom Shishi, and then Shabbat. Shabbat is after Yom Shishi. So the seventh day, Hayom HaShvi'i, is Shabbat. Shvi'i, Shvi'it, Shmini, Shminit, Shi'i, Shi'it, Asiri, Asirit. So the masculine is E, feminine is It. There are three of these that appear with alternative forms. That is Shniya instead of Shinit, Shlishiya instead of Shlishit, and Asiriya instead of Asirit. We use these differently in modern Hebrew. We don't use Shinit as the ordinal for feminine. We say Shniya. Shinit in modern Hebrew, this one, Shinit, means again, like a second time. You did something, okay, it didn't go so well, do it, Shinit. Do it again, a second time. And Shniya is used for second, also on a clock. Shniya is a second, like as opposed to a minute. It's a second. And also, Shniya means a second, but it also means another one, a different one. Like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We use Shniya more in modern Hebrew, and Shinit appears more in the Bible. Okay? Shlishiya we use in modern Hebrew for a 3-pack. Like you buy something in a 3-pack, it's a Shlishiya. And that applies to everything else too. Reviya, Chamishiya, Shishiya.
Just 4 of something.
And that's as far as we go, a 6-pack. We don't go 7-pack, 8-pack, 9-pack. That doesn't work. So we do say Shishiya is a 6-pack of beer, a 6-pack of water, whatever.
What about 12 packs? You got 12 packs.
Chavila shel 12. Chavila, a packet. Chavila shel 12.
Okay.
12 is 12. 12. Asiriya and Chamishiya are also coins. A 5 shekel coin is called a Chamishiya, and a 10 shekel coin is called Asiriya. And apart from that, you've got shekel, Chamishiya, Asiriya, and a few years ago they came out with a 2 shekel coin that everybody calls shnekel. Shnekel because it's shnei,
2 shekels?
shnei shkalim.
Yeah.
Shnei shkalim, they join that together and they call it shnekel. Shnekel. I know that's a fun word. So a 2 shekel coin is a shnekel. Okay, we're not going to practice too much of the numbers. You just need to learn to recognize them. Let's see how we are on time. Oh, we're a little bit over. This word ga'a, the most common use that I remember is Ashira ladonai ki ga'o ga'a. Remember, I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. It's related to the word gaon, which means arrogance or genius also.
Yeah.
It's also related to the word ge'e. Ge'e means proud. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And ga'ava is pride. Chara is to get hot or angry. Lacharot, especially in the expression chara apo, which is vayichar apo. His nose became hot. Nagash, we mentioned this in the last session. I don't want to go into it now. That it's the mixed paradigm. This is kal or nifal. It's kal in the future and the imperative, but nifal in the past and the participle. The infinitive is lageshet. Lageshet, to approach. Higish is the hifil of the same root, nagash, and it's to bring near lahagish. To kiss normally is in the piel, like this one, nishek, lenashek, to kiss, and that goes with et. This goes with et. But it does appear in the kal, especially in the expression vayishak. This is yin shak, vayishak lo. He kissed him, or vayishak la. Vayishak in the kal. Normally it's a piel verb. Also, you can use it in the hit piel, the hit nashek, to kiss each other. This is lehaid, heid. It's related to the noun ed, as a witness, or edut, or ida, as testimony. Lehaid, headeti, I bore testimony. And finally, hikil means to call an assembly together. Lehakil. I did not put it here in the kal because it's not used in the kal. I don't know why he mentioned kahal as to assemble in the book when it does not appear in the kal anywhere, and that is kind of stupid. Did you see that? Did he put kahal in the as a verb?
I'm sure he did.
It's used in the hifil mainly, and in the passive it's used in the nifal, nikhal, nikhalnu. But it is not used in the kal. That's lihit kahel also is it's a hit pael, the hit kahel, that does appear. And finally, likanot or likane, to be jealous, kine. This is an adjective kanai, jealous, and kana is an adjective like el kana, a jealous God, in the Ten Commandments. That's great. We've got June 26th, that's Thursday. We're going to do the homework for lesson 23 this week. So we'll see you then, and hopefully my bookshelves will be empty by then because I am moving out of this house. On Monday next week, we're going to do our reading at 5 and then teaching lesson 25 on Binyan Hifil from Seow, like we've done. And then Thursday after that, the homework for 24. That really is all. I would like to point out that this verb, this is a noun that's from the verb hakshava. Hakshava is from the verb hikshiv. Have you heard that verb before, hikshiv?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what it is, but I've definitely heard it.
Yeah, so that's it's like ha'azin. He listened. Hikshiv, he listened. He paid attention. So toda rabba lahakshava. Thank you for the attention or for listening. Vala ishtatfut. This word does not have any connection to any biblical root.
Okay.
But it means participation in modern Hebrew. And that would be it. It's a lot. It really was a lot. I can't help it. That's kind of what they're assigned.
It's all good. That's what we.
What do you feel about doing something for third hour?
I mean, if you're down, I'm down.
All right. So let's
I don't know what
hang
we'll
out.
do.
The two of us, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And if anybody on Patreon wants to join us, it's just the two of us right now. So it would be great to have somebody jump in on Zoom. The link is on Patreon. Everybody, thank you so much for showing up. I know that was a lot of information. You can feel free to watch through it again, read through the book. There are several things I didn't cover, especially the construct of the partitive construct with numbers that I didn't really go into, and the idea of like ish
Hmm.
and schneim,
Distributives.
and
Yeah.
exactly. I didn't go through any of
Mhm.
those, so please read through the book and listen through the lesson again. We're going to cover this homework a week and 3 days from now. So be busy about it, and we'll see you on Thursday if you don't show up for Patreon in a couple minutes. All right. Peace and love and all that jazz. Bye, guys.
Bye.